Situation.
Hello, welcome to another video by Intuition. So hopefully this is going to be a fairly quick video. Every time I say that it ends up being over 20 minutes long. So hopefully this is going to be a really long video. Right, today we're going to look at multiplying out the brackets just on its own, like isolated from everything else. So we're going to have some brackets and we're going to have something out here to multiply them with, maybe 8, maybe. And we're gonna see how we do that. Alright, just this process by itself. That's the aim of this video, for you to understand how to do that. So 8 lots of 4 plus x. Let's start with this. Now, you might have heard me mention something that I call the half moon method, which is where we link the 8 with the basically we link the thing outside the bracket with everything in the bracket. So first the 8 with the 4, like that, but also the 8 with the x. Notice how that looks like the half moon, well, half of a half moon, a quarter moon. So this is the quarter moon method. You might want to do it on the top as well, like that. Oh my god, and then it's an actual half moon. Whoa. Alright, so the quarter moon method. So 8 times 4, 8 times x. Why do we times? Let's look at that. Why is it 8 times 4 and not 8 add 4? There's a plus sign here. That's the only symbol, as well as the brackets and the letters and numbers. Like, that's the only operation really that we've got here. Well, we times because you could imagine there's like a little times symbol there, like 8 times 4 plus x. That doesn't have to be written for it to be there. It's weird because normally if you were to do 8 times 4 without the times, that's not 8 times 4, that's the number 84. What's going on? It's crazy. If you've got 2 digits next to each other and you want them to be multiplied, you have to put at least a dot. At least a dot. That's dot product. It's technically different to this cross product, but you know, you gotta at least put something. If you're doing GCSEs or A level, don't worry about the dot. You know, you just put 8 times 4. But if you've got, I mean, you know, from algebra, 8x, that's 8 times x, and you don't need to put a times there. And the reason for that is because of, well, it might not be the proper reason, but I would like to think that it's because of the way we speak. You know, if you have 8 of something, you don't say that you've got 8 times and then the name of the thing that you've got 8 of. You just say, I've got 8, and then the name of the thing that you've got 8 of. For example, say if you've got 8 books, you wouldn't say, I have 8 times a book. You'd say, I've got 8 books. You'd leave out the times. There's no point in saying you've got 8 times that, because people would think you're insane. Maybe you are insane. Alright, so we don't need the times to know that we're going to times. If the 8's next to this bracket, it means we've got 8 of them. If you like, you can imagine 4 plus x plus 4 plus x plus 4 plus x. Imagine I did that 8 times. 8 times. 8 of them. And that would be 8 lots of 4 plus x. That's what this represents. That's exactly the same as what we've got by saying 8 brackets 4 plus x. Alright. Now, that's why we multiply this 8 with the 4 and with the x. We'll multiply them together because we're doing 8 times 4 plus x. Alright, so 8 times 4, we do that first. 8 4s are 32, I have to think then. Alright, and 8 times x. 8 times x is just, well, we don't know what x is, so we can't work it out. All we could say for definite is it's 8x. You might have noticed I kind of swiftly put a plus sign here, because that plus sign's there. That's not always the case. It's not a plus because that's a plus. That could be a plus and this is still a negative. For example, what if this 8 was a negative? Then we've got minus 8 times 4 and minus 8 times x. Now, anytime you see a symbol, a plus or a minus, that symbol is telling you about the thing immediately to the right of that symbol. So this minus sign is attached to the thing immediately to the right, which is 8. This 4 doesn't have a sign before it, It's just got like a bracket. You know, there's nothing before the 4. So that means we assume it's positive. Because if it was minus, it would definitely have a negative. So we're going to assume it's positive because there's no sign before it to tell us otherwise. This x has a plus in front of it. So that plus is attached to the thing immediately to the right. So the 8 is negative, the 4 is positive, and the x is positive in this. Okay, so a negative 8 and a positive 4. Minus 8 times 4. Negative times a positive makes a negative. 8 4s 32. Minus 8 times x, a positive x, so minus 8 times x. Negative times a positive makes a negative. 8x is 8 times x is 8x. Minus 8x. So this one would be minus 32 minus 8x. So we have a minus sign here, even though that this is positive. Alright? This could be a positive when this is a negative as well, which is what we're going to look at next. Now, let's get rid of this plus and replace it with a minus. Alright, so we've got a minus 8, a positive 4, and a negative x. The minus sign is attached to the thing immediately to the right of the minus sign, the x in this case. So minus 8 times 4, minus 8 times minus x. Well, minus 8 times 4, we had that just before, it was minus 32. And minus 8 times minus x. Oh, there we go. Minus times a minus is positive. 8 times x is 8x. So we've got a positive 8x or just 8x. So in this one, we've got 8x, take away 32. Or we could say a minus 32 plus 8x. Now those, minus 32 plus 8x and 8x minus 32, those are exactly the same thing. Okay? It doesn't matter which way around you put these terms. Okay? It looks kind of more pleasant with the positive thing first. And I think the reason for that is because we don't have this extra symbol here. If the negative term goes first, you have a minus and then that term because it's a negative, and then a plus and then the positive term. Whereas if the positive term's at the start, you don't need that plus 8x, you can just say 8x minus 32. You don't have to go plus 8x minus 32, which looks just as bad as minus 32 plus 8x. So with the positive term at the start, it looks a little bit nicer. And it kind of makes a bit more sense if you're trying to figure it out. Say if it was just numbers, if you have minus 7 plus 4, you have to kind of think for a moment to realise that that's minus 3. Do you know what I mean? But if we said 4 take away 7, that is a bit more obvious with this being a smaller number that that's going to be a negative. You know what I mean? Especially if it's just a normal positive, like let's say minus 3 plus 10. What's that? Well, you kind of, the way you read it and think of it makes your brain want to count past 0 before you realise that it's just the same as 10 take away 3, which is 7. You see what I mean? If you swap the order of the terms, put the positive thing at the start, the positive 10 take away 3, that's literally exactly the same thing. I've just swapped, I've put plus 10 and minus 3 in that order. It just looks a bit nicer. So yeah, if you've got a mix, I mean if everything's negative then it can't be helped, it's going to have to start with a negative. But if you've got a positive there, at least one positive, then put that first, unless there's other scenarios telling you not to, like if you're trying to keep it in the format of ax squared plus bx plus c and the a is negative, or you know, if you want to keep it in a certain format for a specific reason, then fair enough. But if it doesn't matter, try and put the positive first, you know, it just, if it makes it a bit easier for you. Alright, so you might know that x times x is x squared. And when you multiply in terms together like, whoa, let's get rid of all of it actually, we don't need that now. If you multiply in terms together like that, like 3x and another one, let's say, another 3x. The rule for this is to multiply the numbers together first, aka coefficients. 3 times 3 is 9, and then multiply the variables. So x times x is x squared. So 3x times 3x would be 9x squared. Okay. Similarly, but not identically, 4 times 4x, numbers first, 4 times 4, 16, and then any variables. We've only got x being multiplied in here, and this isn't 0, because 4 times 0 would be nothing. If you wanted to imagine something here to times with the x, just imagine 1, 4 times 1, and then you can times the x with 1 if you want. But basically, multiply the numbers together for 16, the coefficients, and then multiply in any variables that you've got as well. 16 times x, if it was 4x, it'd be 16 times x, which is x squared. But there's only this x, so it's 16 times x, which is 16x. Okay, the only reason I'm bringing that up is because we're going to look at multiplying brackets, multiplying out the brackets when we've got x outside the brackets as well. So let's say if we have 2x, and then in brackets 3x minus 4. Okay, so the thing outside the brackets is this, the 2x. Okay. If it was 7 plus 2x, then the thing outside the brackets would just be the 2x, because this is all one giant term with little subterms like 3x and minus 4. Okay, and we're just focusing on one term at a time when we multiply out brackets. If it was 7 plus 2x and they weren't in brackets, then the thing outside the brackets that's multiplying with the brackets is just the 2x. The 7 is basically getting added on. All of this would be getting added on to 7. So we're only multiplying the brackets with 2x. I mean, there's no 7. Let's say there is a 7 there. 7 plus 2x times all of this stuff. So this is separate from the 7. We'll work this out on its own and then add it to the 7 if we can. Alright, so 2x times 3x, numbers first, 2 times 3, that's 6. X times x is x squared, so we've got 6x squared. The 2x and the 3x are both positive. That plus sign is telling us that the 2x is positive. If that wasn't there, we would assume it was positive anyway though, because no symbol means it's positive. Alright, 2x times minus 4. 4 is negative, so we've got 2 times minus 4 is minus 8, and then it's all being multiplied by x, so we just add that x in at the end there. Alright, so yeah, so we've got x in like everything here, and we've got this 7 at the start that's being added on. We can just plonk that on the end, plus 7. Doesn't matter if it goes at the start or the end really. And there we go, that's the brackets multiplied out. Now, x times another variable, let's say y, would be xy. X, that is an x, honest, times y is just xy. Okay, you could have x squared times y, and that would just be x squared y. And we could have x squared times y squared, and that would just be x squared y squared. Yeah? You kind of getting the pattern there a little bit? Yeah. Cool. So that's like x times y, x squared y squared. Okay? And then the coefficients, the numbers that are attached to those, would work just as they did previously. Now let's look at multiplying out some more complicated brackets. Alright, let's say if we've got 4xy squared multiplied by 2x minus 3. Okay, so the 4xy squared is all multiplied together, and that's one single giant term with no pluses and minuses between it. Okay, I know there's a minus sign here, but it's within brackets, so it's still one term. Alright, so this is like one solid block, and it could have 7 plus or 7 minus even at the start. It would all be negative. Ooh. You know, it could have a separate bit, but we're just going to focus on this, which it could be part of an equation, and we could multiply out the brackets and then put it back into that equation with exactly what it is when you multiply out the brackets. So we're going to multiply 4xy squared with the 2x, so we've got that times the 2x, and then that times the 3 with this minus sign, making the 3 negative. Quarter moon method, yeah. Alright, so 4 times 2, numbers first, 4 2's 8, and then we've got x times x for x squared, and then y squared times, there's nothing else here, so just y squared, blunked on the end there. 8x squared y squared. Next, the 4xy squared multiplied by minus 3. Well, the 4xy squared is positive, the minus 3 is negative. Positive times negative makes it negative. So we've got our minus sign there. So 4 3's is 12. And then there's no variables here, so we can basically just copy this. So we've got x times y squared multiplied by 1. There's no other multipliers except for just, 1. Remember how I said 3 could be 3 times 1 or something like that? So we just got xy squared. Since there's no other variables here, we can just copy that here. Xy squared, just as it was up here. We can put that there because there's nothing here except a bracket. Yeah, shout out to brackets. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I have no idea how long this video has been, but hopefully not too long. So we'll leave it at that. That's multiplying out the brackets. It does get more complicated than that, as does all maths. You could have bigger numbers. I think the biggest number we used was like 8. You could use a million. That would make it more complicated straight off. Well, kind of. Yeah, and that's it. So anyway, if you're looking at this on the website, there should be a load of example questions just under this video. If you're looking at it on YouTube, check the description. I'll put a link for the website where you'll find a load of other videos like this one, and a load of example questions with answers. Yay! If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. And also, we are a tuition company. If you want an online tuition on Skype, send us an email. Email address is in the description, adam@tuition.co.uk. Have a good day. See you later.